Hello everyone, it's Brett here, Lionheart84, and I thought for a change, middle of March, that I'd do a quick garden, very early spring walk around. I don't normally do my garden tours until sort of, well, if not the beginning of April, then probably in the beginning of May, because there's not really much to see normally at this time of the year. But as there's a few things budding out early this year, because we've had a particularly mild spell, and also a few things in flower, I thought I'd do a quick garden walk around to see what's happening and what's worth mentioning. And obviously some of the plants will also feature in standalone videos if I want to spend a little bit more time on them. Plus there are people who don't look at these longer videos, so it's better off if I do a short 3 or 4 minute video for them to see, and it might be on plants that they're particularly interested in. So I thought we'd start with the with my Pakistan mulberry, which is a sort of a dark red to black variety. As I mentioned recently, it's waking up very early this year, and we have had this very mild spell, which is great for the plants. But the problem with these mild spells is it gets these plants waking up very early, and then we get our typical frosts that we get in March and April, and it ends up ruining all the plants. So that's my Pakistan mulberry. My crimson bonfire peach is nearly finished flowering now. The flowers are all dying off. You can see signs of the new leaves coming. I can see possible peach leaf curl on some of the leaves, but it's very hard to see when they're this size. They don't normally show much deformation, so I don't know if the spraying I've done with copper fungicide is going to reduce the problem or not. One of my pot growing most recently bought Fijoas or pineapple guavas. That one's Triumph. This is my Albizia Julie Brissin, which I was very excited to get last year, just starting to wake up, which again may be an issue because it tends to be a little bit prone to cold damage. One of my Daphnes there, I can't remember the name of it, that's in flower, seems to flower nearly all year. You can see that camellia there's looking very healthy. One in the ground's doing well. The ones in pots unfortunately are extremely root bound, and I've really got to get them out and trim the roots, trim the plants back and put them in some new acidic compost, and we'll see how they get on. Next to that in a pot I've got my medlar. That's now waking up. That's a little bit early this year, but I don't think that'll be a problem because I don't actually normally flower until probably May anyway. They just come out in leaf bud quite early, so don't see any real problems with that one. Behind it on the wall is my unnamed kiwi berry. Come out very early this year. These are extremely prone to frost damage. Just needs one light frost, about sort of around the freezing point, will damage all of these shoots. And of course it's these new shoots that carry the flowers on them that should hold the fruit, except I've never had fruit from it because although it was bought originally, it was meant to be an Issai. It's not an Issai. It was missold, so it's not self-fruiting. But I'm hoping that eventually I'll get fruits on my other flowers on my other kiwi berries, which may, if I'm lucky, cross-pollinate. It remains to be seen, but waiting for the first frost to come. Typically enough it's starting to rain, which is not ideal. There's my in-ground citrus there. I'm hoping it's still going to turn out to be the Myers lemon. Got killed back to the ground the previous winter, but it's looking okay this winter. Next to it I've got in the ground a blueberry. This one's got very little on the way of flower buds on it. I think I should have cut it back hard last year, but I didn't, and that was a mistake because it hasn't got many flowers on it. Also budding out is one of my pot grown mulberries. This is a white fruited one. This one is Carmen. You can see that's budding out now. Again, that's likely to suffer frost damage. No signs of new growth yet on my mammoth pineapple guava planted in ground, possibly just starting to get a little bit of freshness on the new buds, so that's, I wouldn't expect that to be starting to grow properly for another sort of 6 weeks, and then it'll flower in about July. another blueberry behind it. Can't remember that variety. That has got flower buds on it, but the one that's absolutely covered is this one at the front, which I think was the Darrow, and it's actually very, very close to the flower buds opening, which is incredible. My in-grounds pineapple guava, which I need to get rid of. It's just pointless having it there. I tried again last year, and although it's set fruits, they're not very good quality. Yes, useful as a pollinator, but I've got so many varieties now, I just don't think I need it anymore, and I'd rather put a name variety in the border. Slight signs of growth next to it from my in-ground pomegranate, variety unknown. Produced its first very small fruit last year, but very inferior quality. Don't think it's a name variety, but of course as the plant gets bigger, if it flowers earlier in the year and it can be made to set fruit, possibly I'll get more edible pomegranates on it. Behind it in ground is my seedling persimmon. As I mentioned in a previous video, I'm planning to cut that back hard this year and top work it and try and graft some varieties onto it, because it's pointless having a seedling persimmon. Next to it, my caesalpinia seems to come through the winter fairly unscathed, so I'm hoping to see flowers on that this year. Moving along, nothing much happening to the climbers. That's just an ornamental one at the back, that's fine. That's a Campsis. My Triumph pineapple guava that I cut back last year is bushed out again nicely this year. Got a bit of an annoying empty patch in the middle, but you can't do an awful lot about that. Next to it is my seedling pawpaw. Has got some flower buds on it, not loaded this year. I mean, if I can manage to hand pollinate them, I should get a few fruits, but actually surprisingly disappointed with the lack of flower buds on it. This is one that's had a couple of grafts put onto it, which I think are still alive. That's Shenandoah, and it looks like the shoots are still alive on it. And the other one is Allegheny. Again, one failed and one's taken. I think it looks like it's going to shoot out, but it's hard to tell. My tree peony's doing nicely. Let's carry on the walk around. You see the problem I'm dealing with in my garden. It's just permanently, totally waterlogged everywhere. Very frustrating. We've had an insane amount of rain and my garden's just not draining away. In ground Chilean guavas. I've got two of the kapow here. Suffered some minor cold damage here. We got down to -6, and they do tend to be prone to tip damage, but I don't think it's going to be a serious long-term problem. A little bit of tip damage on that one as well. It's a combination of cold winds actually and cold temperatures. The other one I put in ground, which I can't remember the name of, I think that might be strawberry. What's it called? Villarica strawberry. Meant to be slightly hardier. See, it's got slightly more lanceolate leaves. Looks okay. This is the pineapple guava I decided to put in grounds. This one is Gemini. That's looking fine. Didn't expect to see any problems with it transplanting it. If I can trudge through the mud here. My in-ground cherry guava, which I've been covering cold spells, apart from some tip damage, looks okay. Can't say the same for the in-ground avocado. I had a spare bacon I thought I'd plant. Doesn't look totally dead. It's green at the base, and sometimes they shoot back from the base, so perhaps if we don't get any cold spells it might be alright. Obviously we won't know if the Maypop has survived another winter until about June, when it comes up hopefully out of the grounds, but no problems with the Passiflora caerulea that I planted. This is the first jujube that I've replanted. Looks like the shoots are okay. These don't wake up until May or June. Still going to do my Illinois mulberry. Walking around through the wet spells, and quite excitingly, and I will do a separate video on these, I've got plenty of flowers on my Shinziki. Got flowers on my in-ground Olympic Asian pest. That's obviously planting it has helped it. This one is my, is it Kumoy? This one's Kumoy. It's got plenty of flowers on it, and it looks like I'm even going to get a few flower buds on my, what's this one here called, Nijisiki this year. So they should all pollinate each other. I've got a couple of kiwi vines on the back wall. They look as if they've survived and they're greening out now, but again, there's always a risk of frost on them. Much too early in the year for my Szechuan pepper to wake up, but that looks nice and healthy. Got a lot more flower buds on my Pennsylvania Golden, which is starting to develop now, so I'm really hoping that it's quite a good size now. It should hold 1 or 2 fruit if I can successfully hand pollinate it. And as you know, my container grown Prima's looking okay. It's got flower buds on it as well, so there's plenty of material for cross pollination. I'm not going to look at all of my persimmons in close detail, just a quick flick over from a distance, but they're showing signs of budding out now, which again is not ideal because they're another one that the new growth is extremely prone to frost damage. It's very, very sensitive to new growth, and of course once they get set back, they're not going to flower because it takes them until about late June or July for the new growth to recover. But most of them look okay. There are some dead shoots on them which I haven't pruned off yet, but I can do that a little bit later. Figs are all dormant, signs of bud swelling on them, but not nothing excessive yet. Whether or not any of these, none of these look as if they've got brabus on. There's one there, but unfortunately they don't seem to produce brabus when they're in pots. They really need to be in ground, and of course I've got no space to put them in ground, so it's a bit of a no-no. The downside of trying to grow these in a small garden. Other pot grown feijoas all look fine. They don't get affected by anything over a winter at all. The only thing they might not do is flower and fruit very well because they get restricted by pots. Just going to walk back here and show you the Japanese raisin tree. This is also budding out very early, and this is another one that's extremely sensitive to light frosts, and I've had this in previous years send out new shoots and then get cut back badly. Carrying on the look around, this is my flat donut shaped nectarine, sort of flat satin one. They call them satin or donut peaches, or just flat peaches. This one's actually a nectarine. They tend to have a slightly darker pink flower than the regular peaches, or that appears to be the case. No problem with the loquats or loquats. They're growing like crazy, lots of new growth on them. Didn't have any flowers again this year. Quick wander around the back so we can see, you can have a look at my stunning display on my chocolate vines. This is Akebia quinata, and most excitingly this year, for the first time I can actually see that the white one is in full flower here, and you can see this is the cream flowered one. It was a smaller plant that I planted between the others, and it's taken it a lot longer to get going, but it's got these beautiful delicate sort of cream flowers with the light lilac centres, and this one also looks like, yeah, this is more of the same here. These are definitely the lighter flowered ones. I've got 2 of the standard flowered ones, 2 separate plants, which is why I've been getting fruits, because I bought them from, one came from France and one came from the UK, so they were genetically separate. But the reason I bought the white flowered one was obviously I knew there'd be a much better chance of cross pollination if I did have the white flower one in here and flowering, and the fruits they produce are a much lighter colour, so I'm really pleased to see this cream one flowering now, and it has got both female and male flowers on it. Let me see if I can get you a close-up of them. That's the male flower there with those trumpets which would form the fruits, and these the females next to it. So both sets of plants are producing male and female flowers. So fingers crossed when they get some fruits again this year. Although they're not particularly tasty, they are nevertheless an interesting fruit, and you can juice them if you remove the seeds. Here is my this one's a genuine Isai, growing nicely. Probably going to have problems with it with cold damage, but that's life. My mulberry's just starting, another mulberry just starting to bud out here. This one is a genuine Morris Nigra, a black variety. My apricot's finished flowering now. Hopefully it's going to set a few fruits. We'll wait and see. I've got to give that a light prune back. And basically that's most of the tour now. I'm still waiting to repot this jujube, haven't got round to it yet. This is the Moldovan pink that I repotted. No signs of new growth yet, but it hopefully, I'm pretty sure it's still green everywhere. Yeah, it should start budding out in the next 3 or 4 weeks. I prefer it when they're not early, to be honest, because obviously there's less risk of damage. And we'll have a final look. We'll finish up the video for anyone who's been watching it, at my beautiful snake's head fritillaries, which I've got here next to my in-ground fig tree. Absolutely the most stunning looking spring bulbs. My agipanthus have been affected by the cold this year, but they're coming up nicely. And most of the other bulbs I've put in haven't done very well, but these fritillaries seem to be more resilient than things like daffodils and crocus. So I'm pleased to at least see them doing well, and they come up each year and give me a lovely display for a few weeks. So that's a quick overview of the garden. As I said, I will do a couple of standalone videos on some of the other plants, but at least it's nice to see things waking up. But the downside is obviously the damage they're likely to get when we get a cold spell. Nothing you can do about it. It's just the way of our UK climate. So thanks for watching the video. Please give me a thumbs up. Welcome to, of course, share the video if you think people will be interested. Do subscribe to my channel, and remember to click on the bell if you want to get updates on new videos when they come out. I'll catch up with you all soon. Brett out for now.